My favorite calendar app is called Fantastical. It's available on iOS and Mac, and it's free. They do have a premium version of it for about $50 a year that unlocks premium features. And what I like most about Fantastical is that the UI is beautiful, it's very easy to use, it's very efficient. They update the app and UI quite often, so it's always being innovated, worked on, tweaked, and much more efficient over time as well. And so I've been using it for about 3 to 4 years now. And I've been using it alongside with another calendar app called BusyCal because that was my favorite app before Fantastical. And I've always been a big proponent of BusyCal as well because it's the advanced calendar app that we recommend for most people. And what made me jump over from BusyCal to Fantastical is simply because BusyCal doesn't really update their app anymore and it looks kind of outdated compared to Fantastical, which is always being updated and has a lot of integrations with other tools as well. And they're oftentimes the first to do so. For example, with Zoom, Calendly, and so on. And so if you're thinking about using a new calendar app, I highly recommend checking out Fantastical for both iOS and Mac.
I've used Fantastical for years as well. This is why I'm kind of on the bubble about switching, because I have a great system using Fantastical, OmniFocus, and Day One for my journal. So I kind of have a good system there that works well for me. But I really like Fantastical. I like the widgets. That's one thing. I have a widget on my lock screen. Do you use Fantastical widgets at all, Tan, or do you just use the app?
I do use the widget for Fantastical both on my phone and on my desktop. And I find it very helpful being able to quickly see what's happening in there. But I think it's not like a feature that I think would jump people over the edge and say, oh, this is really why you should use it. I think it's just a nice to have.
I will say that for some people, widgets are a differentiator if you want to be able to see for a glance what's going on. Some people really like it. I think because both you and I are more desktop focused than mobile focused, maybe that isn't as much of a need for us. But for somebody who's on the go all the time, even stuff like widgets can actually make a big difference. Another feature I like about it, though this is on desktop again, is you can set it so that your next appointment shows up in the menu bar of your computer. And I find that really helpful just to always see what's coming up next. So I'm kind of like mentally preparing for it. I'm a premium member. I have been for a while. Now, there is some controversy because they just recently jacked up their price. I haven't been hit with that price increase yet, but some people are a little unhappy about that. So I haven't decided if that's going to change anything for me. Now, we use a tool called Calendly that allows people to book meetings with us and stuff like that. And Fantastical has that built in too, which is really interesting. Because we're a Calendly shop here, I haven't really used it too much, but I think it's a great feature and it's cool that, like you said, they're always improving, they're always iterating, and they're always adding new features, which is what you want from a subscription app, right? If you're going to pay a subscription for something, you want it to always feel like it's improving. Otherwise, you think, well, I should have just paid a one-time fee for that.
One thing I will say that is important for people to know is that over the last few years, I've seen a lot of apps move to a subscription model. And I know a lot of people aren't happy about that, but I actually think it's a great move for the developers because when you're creating an app, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of testing to create a great app. And then once you launch it and you get a one-time payment for the app, there's no more incentive for the developers to really innovate as much anymore because when you're developing and updating a new app, it can cost a lot of time and energy as well. But if you're not getting paid for it necessarily, you run into these cash flow issues. And so I have found that the apps that tend to be a subscription model tend to be updated more often. They tend to be better. They tend to be more stable just because the developers are being supported. And so as a consumer, you might think that that's actually a bad thing on your part because you're being billed every single month or every single year, but you actually get the better app oftentimes. So I wouldn't hold back from choosing a subscription app because I know we have a lot of subscriptions already and you're paying for a lot of different things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you are paying for a quality program and app that you're going to be using day to day. And obviously, you want to pick the one that's best, right? And then oftentimes I find that the ones that are in the subscription model have the incentive aligned to create the best app possible. And another thing about Fantastical that I really love is their natural language processing. Or in other words, if you just type in, I have lunch with Brooks tomorrow at 12 p.m. at this restaurant, it will actually create it according to what you just said. So it's really powerful to be able to recognize what you're typing and identifying who you're having lunch with, where it is, at what time. And no matter how you phrase it, it's really smart in picking that up. And so it makes it really easy to quickly enter stuff. So if you know the keyboard shortcut on your desktop to add a new calendar entry, you can quickly type it in and there you go. It's on your calendar. It's super easy and efficient. So it's one of those little things that makes such a big difference, especially if you're a calendar ninja and you add a lot of stuff to your calendar. Knowing a few keyboard shortcuts is going to make all the difference in terms of how efficient you become with that over time.